Alright, now I'm good.
Awesome. So, with all that out of the way, why don't we begin tonight with a recap of last week's game?
I think by and large, the biggest thing and really the thing that dominated the game was the party trying to figure out whether or not Say was cursed. There was some talk about suspicious behavior, uncharacteristic behavior involving the Palantir, and the party discussed like what curses were. Can they be detected? Can they be fixed? There was a tentative plan made to potentially intervene if things were determined to be what Taliesin had suspected. And Alistair and Kanani went off to find Say to gather information, check her behavior following some prompts. You could suss out whether or not there were signs, as it's impossible to tell if someone is cursed or impossible to tell if an item is cursed. All they could really do is figure out, well, is there anything different? Can it be explained through rational means? Like diagnostic medicine, really. Conversation was had with Elaine about curses and the nature of curses and all sorts of stuff like that.
General impression being that curses suck.
Curses kind of suck, yeah. Curses kind of suck, and oftentimes there's not much you can do about them. Well, Alistair and Kanani went off to check on Say. Marai met with Taliesin in the glade, at the hot spring in the glade. After everyone else, except I think Klinkle, had left, and they chatted about stuff. Got to know each other a little better, I think. Say did some work on dragon lances and arcane cannons and regular cannons designed to hurt things. And
We got dragons to kill.
Learned that the hat, though stuffy, would not work unless worn.
Cannot be naked and smart. That's fine.
Can't be naked and smart, sorry. Afraid not.
But you can be naked with a hat.
Is it naked if you got boots on?
It's actually, that becomes full circle, because I believe Say was once telling a story about Kaladin being naked except for a hat and boots. And gun.
Here we go.
I mean, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
We are learning today. Those are the broad strokes. That's what I really remember from last game. There was lots of quipping. There were lots of like little moments, but by and large, last game was dominated by that burning question: is there something wrong with Say?
Cursed or stressed? New
Cursed
game
stressed.
show.
It remains to be seen. Oh, Kanani and Alistair are 100% convinced that she's cursed.
Yeah, they went to investigate and speak with her, and I don't know, she had a lot of reasonable explanations.
Good explanations, but the vibes were just off. Man. The vibes were off.
Very true.
Also learned that the Palantir was an evolving magical item, not unlike the relics themselves.
Yeah. They did mention that the Palantir now allows her to scry on objects as well as people. Which totally doesn't mean much. Absolutely doesn't mean much.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
And as such, the airship everyone was riding to the refuge continued on through the night. So I am ready to open things up around wake up / breakfast time, around 7 in the morning, unless there's anything anyone wants to note that they did over the course of the night.
Yeah, I'd like to note, Alistair did take time to look over Say's work as far as those dragon lances go, just to see if he can add anything to the process to improve
He also
upon it.
wanted to look at that book.
He also
that
wanted
guy.
to look at that book from Argyle Tall. I think that was his name.
Yeah,
Argyle Tall?
Argyle Tall.
Argyle friend.
That is a important element to address. We'll jump to that in a second.
That's probably fine.
So first was the Say schematics.
Yeah, schematics. I don't know how weaponry will be handled on a second-hand ship, or even how cannons like that work. I know there's a goblin aboard somewhere who invented these things. Well, he might still be aboard, I don't know. But the engineer who developed the arcane cannons on the Queen's Gambit, we've run into him once.
Yeah, I would say Say knows quite a bit about explosive projectiles, and the schematics. Say was thinking more of possible energy projectiles in her notes, and you would be looking this over and trying to figure out what might be possible. The notes in the design work seem pretty straightforward. Like the base mechanics are there, the physics seems to work, but in terms of a possible energy cannon, the big question mark that everything comes back down to is how do you power it, and how do you turn that etheric energy into explosive energy? And that's probably where your mind goes as you kind of scribble notes and think about the problem ahead of you. You know that most Aetherstone powered devices tend to be almost like on-off switches, whereas the cannons of the Queen's Gambit seem to be more like, I don't know, they seem to draw energy, channel it, focus it, push it out. There might be something between that and the native instability of the anarchy barrels that the goblins use to power a lot of their devices. But you've seen smaller devices work with anarchy barrels in a little bit more of a stable way, such as the little goblin communicators. The jetpacks seem unstable, but the principles of transferring energy into power that pushes seems to be ingrained into that kind of thing as well. So yeah, there seems to be an entire field here that the goblins seem to know a lot more about that that Mobians haven't really tapped into.
Okay, that sounds like a tomorrow question. Touch base and learn about that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But you see the potential here. There's more information to be gleaned on how to make it work, but the foundation seems sound to your mind. And speaking of sound minds and unsound minds, there's Argyltal's diary to address. Now, are you Are you skimming this to search for something to get a vibe check on it, or are you trying to read it from start to finish?
So, Kanani stole that from his lab, presumably. That stole the Palantir from his lab. And it was like a smoky ball when she grabbed it. I would presume him being who he was, he probably spent the most time with that thing, getting orders from whomever was in charge of that whole situation. Presumably, Velkin himself, since he was in charge of this whole foray. Yeah, we're going to read it in earnest. We're going to read it in earnest, looking for instances where the Palantir is mentioned. And from what I've seen of the book before, it did go from reasonable dude to raving lunatic. And something about him almost understanding something. As far as Alistair knows, he almost understands how this Palantir thing works. So that seems like a good place to start. So, starting from where sane person begins and reading through, looking for mentions of the Palantir, but also trying to find out just what force it was that drove this man to being the way he was in the end. Before he was shunted down a well.
Yeah. Just pulling something up. All right, well, okay then. Ah, there we go. That's what I thought. All right. So starting from the beginning of the book. The beginning of the book looks like Argyltal had begun writing in it as he expresses in the text shortly after his arrival on Mobius in Smuggler's Vale, how he is being sent to oversee the operation of a eldritch tower in the vicinity that is geared towards disrupting communication, much like the other towers that his contemporaries have been dispatched to see to across Mobius. There's a lot of pride in his abilities and his work, being entrusted with something old and arcane and absolutely vital to the war effort really appeals to his ego. In reading this part of the book, you get an impression of Argyltal as a very prideful arcanist. You kind of know the type. Who is not exactly enamored with Mobius, but is curious about the nature of these towers, this tower he's been entrusted to keep. There's a lot of early entries about navigating the tower and how, upon arrival, Velkin was the one who had produced a key that had granted them access to the tower and bypassed many of the traps. And there's some speculation by Argyltal regarding where Velkin had gotten the key and how he knew about this tower to begin with. Once he and his entourage got kind of settled in the tower and began setting it up for use and getting the Eldritch engines running, that was about the time when Velkin entrusted him with the Palantir. The Palantir, as he describes in the book, is a wonderful gift from the goddess of change herself, wrought by her own magic, and is seen as a tool of very prestigious power. To his knowledge, there were only 7 created, and that Velkin was turning over the one he had been entrusted to strikes him as, well, the way he writes it makes it seem like Velkin has all the faith in the world in him and his abilities, and is thus entrusting him with a link to the other Forsaken, or the other Fallen, as they refer to them. Having been exposed to a little bit of Velkin and kind of hearing how from Taro about the nature of Velkin's followers, you kind of get the impression that this might have been Velkin passing off a tool that he didn't want used on him. But that's just supposition. As this starts to get into, say, like, the second quarter of the book, as Argyltal begins to focus on his work with the tower, he begins noting down some of the handfuls of formulae. You recognize runic script work in bits and pieces. It doesn't seem like anything is coherent. It seems like he's puzzling out aspects of runic that he was trying to fix within the tower itself. This is also where he starts to get more into the speculation of the tower, its origins, and the strange crystal at its heart, the enormous gemstone that he views as an aether stone at this point, that seems to be powering the tower and all of its traps, and to a certain extent fueling the magic that runs through it. He doesn't quite understand how it works, but he feels a strange kinship with it that grows by the day. And this is where he starts to kind of wax poetic about magic in general. And you recognize, you almost connect with the kind of like starry-eyed metaphorical description of magic and the weave and all this stuff. But
That's so cute.
there's a couple entries where he lapses into this kind of description, and the metaphors start to break down, and he starts to become a little more rambling. As you kind of reach the halfway point, Argyltal begins to note that he has begun hearing things and seeing things out of the corner of his eye, at the ends of hallways and the distant edges of the tower. And there's a wariness there, but he mentions that he can almost hear pieces of conversations, like the tower is speaking to him, or that something is speaking to him. Then there are several entries that feel like one-sided conversations where he's communicating with someone and responding to questions, but it feels disjointed because you're only reading one half of the conversation. These dialogues seem to be geared towards the nature of the tower and of the veil itself, and you see discussions about a civilization that Argyltal confesses no longer exists here. It almost seems as though he's speaking with someone who lived at the time of this civilization. and you recall the ruins and the remnants of what might have been a city outside of the Eldritch Tower. And there's discussions here about the Palantir and Argotol using it to deliver news of his findings to the other Fallen. He mentions there's particular interest showed by some. Pull up a note. So it seems that he has had some communication with Tyrix, the Lightless, as he's known to most of the followers of Ruin. They're one-sided. Again, Argotol is more responding to communications that he's had and starting to get boastful of how much he knows and how much the Fallen are looking for answers to questions in the wrong places, and how these Eldritch Towers are more than what they were told they were. That the things at the heart of the tower, at the heart of this world, are so much larger and so much more expansive beyond their understanding of what they've been led to believe. So you start to see the rambling and the disjointed conversations begin to play out in the three-thirds of the book. The last third of the book, or the last three-fourths of the book, the last fourth of the book is where things get really wacky. This is where the writing starts to become more and more disjointed and scribbled and scrawled across the book, as it seems like Argotol has fallen into almost a frenzy of discovery and understanding. Except some of the conclusions that he has come to, that he is so excited to share with people, you're reading through his description of them and they don't make sense. Things on the nature of the world and how the planes are connected, and the way magic is used as a link to tie all these things together and yet separate them from a world beyond knowing. And this is where you see in passing a reference to just how far the lands of magic are from Mobius and from Gur and from everything they know here. And you see him start to reference the far lands a little more and more often. He's getting excited about finding a secret at the heart of this enormous Aether Stone. That he was sent here just to manage communication, but there's so much more here. There's something deeper, a deeper truth that he is looking for. And things take a change in the final pages as he builds up to his final experimentation with the tower and the jewel at its center. This is where he starts to... Well, it builds up to the moment he plans to enact a great experiment, and then jumps to the aftermath, where his writing is even more of a chicken scratch scrawl, hurriedly written down as though he can't contain the thoughts that are running through his head. And these are the notes that you recall reading in the tower. How he speaks of seeing what lies beyond the world and how glorious and terrible it is. The whispers that he can't stop hearing, the understanding, how he understands it all. He understands everything. He can see it, see the nature of things, but he can't quite touch it. Not yet, but soon. And just repeating that word over and over again, soon, soon, soon. And I need you to give me an insight check.
Sure. Insight. $14 total.
In the final pages where he starts just trailing off into soon, 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 you see that his scrawl seems to link a lot of these O's together. Just something weird how the words kind of overlap with each other. It just kind of it tickles your mind as something that's just strange. And flipping to the start of the book, you can see the writing looks completely different. Like, this is, if you hadn't known better, it seems like these are two different people writing. Now, going through the night, reading through all of this, it kind of pulls you forward. You're not exactly keeping track of time as you just get immersed in this this diary. There are bits and pieces here, but you're not, especially in the back half of the book, you're not sure how things fit together. The first half makes a lot more sense. But if you're looking for particular things regarding the Palantir, this is go ahead and ask your questions, and I'll let you know if the book confirms or denies the answers.
Well, I guess my biggest question was in regards to, I had gotten the vibe before that the person who wrote this when they started was not as mentally sound as they were at the beginning. They weren't as sound at the end as they were in the beginning. That seems to be very clear. My question was what part, if any, the Palantir played in that. And it looks almost as though the Palantir was a unrelated element to this guy's decline.
By the time you finish the book, you do confirm that the Palantir was unrelated. It seemed predominantly a communication device, but there are notes that he made about receiving instructions to keep it in the control room, and how whenever he wanted privacy, he would leave the room to, go attend to whatever it is he needed to do. There's a certain level of assumed knowledge, but it seems that in addition to his regular reports and his utilizing it to communicate with others, there's an impression that the Palantir did not have to be in use for someone else to see through it or see around it.
Oh, that's somewhat problematic.
Give me a straight-up intelligence check.
Sure. Intelligence, no modifier? Or no skill attached?
No skill.
It's 19 on die, plus 5, 24.
Okay. I would say as you reflect on those elements and reflecting back to what Say had told you, you gain a flash of insight. Now, you understand how scrying spells work, in theory, right?
In theory.
In theory, you choose a person, you get limited view around them, you can communicate with them. The Palantir worked on the same principle, except it seemed like whoever you were looking in on, you had a wider view around them, right? Say said that her usage of it had changed to now she could scry on objects. And you kind of, one thing starts to eat at you where a person can occasionally tell when they're being scried upon. Objects can't.
Unless
And
you're looking for it, it's undetectable.
and if a scry spell could be used on an object, then no one around it would ever be aware that the object is being scried on. And the Palantir grants a extended vision of the area around the object of the person, the target, the subject being scried upon. So the links start to kind of come together. The Palantir can be used to target an object which cannot resist the spell and grant vision and hearing of the area immediately around that object. And if there happens to be people in the area around that object, well, they're not the target of the spell, so they would never know that the spell is being used.
And as I understand it, the Palantir, it can scry as many times as it wants. It just works.
Indeed. The only catch is being if something can resist the spell, then that thing, that target, cannot be scried upon for another 24 hours.
Right. Oh. So it would be reasonable to say that is essentially capable of being a surveillance device.
Extraordinarily capable of being a surveillance device.
If not the main use case. Got it. Okay. Do I know what Say does with this thing when it's not in use?
Yeah, I was just about to ask if we kept that in the bag of holding.
We do not.
It's usually kept it's kept in a bag.
But that doesn't matter. That's not going to matter. Not if this thing sees outside of. Okay. Yeah, so man, oh man, that's rough, buddy.
As you kind of reflect on that, I would say these conclusions kind of come to you towards the end of reading this book. It's 7 a.m. You read through the night without realizing it.
Oh. Alright, cool.
Give me a quick constitution check.
Check or save?
Save.
I'm gonna bump that 14 to a 19.
Yeah, get some coffee and you'll be fine.
Unless... No, I wasn't aware of it, so I couldn't take a potion for that. Okay, cool.
You know what's really weird about that, though? That diary doesn't look big enough to take up 8 hours of reading. Yet here you are.
Panani would have tried to stay awake during Alistair's read-through of that. Would she have fallen asleep, or would she be transfixed as well?
You wouldn't feel anything unusual keeping you up. And after a while, I mean, you can only watch someone read a book for so long before you start to doze off yourself. And whenever you reminded him that it was getting late, you get the typical Alistair, almost
I'll be
done.
there in a minute. I'll be there in a
Yeah.
minute.
One more page.
Yeah, just gotta get through this couple phrases.
All right.
So how'd everyone else sleep?
Like a baby.
Jaeger went off. Yeah, Jaeger went off in search of some goblins last night, didn't
Like a baby.
he?
Probably slightly more stressed. After figuring out prestidigitation didn't get rid of the ink and the charcoal on the hands.
Yeah, after a while, that stuff just starts to sink in. Taliesin, you usually like to get up a little early and get things going in the kitchen, right? Konana usually does the cooking, but
Right. The first thing that I was going to ask, but we kind of jumped through. Um, would Taliesin have made arrangements for someone to leave the spell of ring storing and the diamond dust with him?
Alistair, I believe, left the diamond behind to be turned into diamond dust.
so probably the diamond would be available.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see if Taliesin could get in the casting of the spell into the spell of ring storing before other people woke up, but I guess not. But Taliesin would have Trance would have slept just fine last night, as far as I know.
Or did he?
Yeah, you know what? No one knows.
You don't know. What happens in the grove stays in the grove.
But yeah, he would have after waking up, he would have done a little guard walk outside of the glade for a couple hours while everyone's still down, and then yeah, for a couple hours because he switched out a bunch of spells, and then he would have gone back into the glade just around breakfast to help set it up, as well as to meet up with Konane so that he could immediately put the greater healing spell into her ring without being too sus. Sorry, greater restoration. Greater restoration. Be very clear on that. Sorry.
Yeah, so when you got up to attend to things, Mirai definitely didn't. She remained asleep. And she would wander into the kitchen kind of aroundish breakfast time while things have been. You probably put on something to drink or get some of the light stuff done, right? That would probably be around the time where she would wander in to get herself a drink of something to get her morning started. And kind of note that even though the upper branches of the grove are interwoven in a way that provides a kind of like hazy barrier against whatever sky might lie beyond, there does seem to be ambient light that matches the movement of the sun outside of the grove, so you can tell when it is morning.
As is right with the world.
So, would Kanani wake up and Alistair would just still be awake?
Yeah, you would find him kind of sitting up in his cot, kind of hunched over the book with a very intense expression on his face that you've kind of seen him get whenever he is in the middle of crafting. Like he is fully engaged.
Alistair, are you still awake?
Just 5 more men. Oh dear. I suppose I am. What time is it?
It is morning. I just woke up.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh. And he's gonna start packing his things up. Looking a little flummoxed.
Did it take that long to read all that?
Well, I mean, I did have to reread, I did have to reread some bits. There's a lot of reading between the lines, a lot of... I don't know what this man was playing, but he started on one side and ended up on a different one. And reading between the lines, I think this thing's a lot more dangerous than I gave it credit for. Not directly dangerous, but if Say's Palantir has grown stronger and can do what it does, then it serves to reason that others, just as strong, can do what it does. Which is very problematic because you can't hide that with the bag. So, gotta find Taliesin, we've got to find Say, and we've got to make this problem no longer a problem swiftly.
So you suspect that she is cursed.
Cursed or not, that thing is a menace. And it needs to be contained.
Well, if it cannot be hidden in a bag of holding, then yes, we must get rid of it.
That remains to be seen whether or not it can be... I don't know. I don't know the answers. I just know that in its current form, everyone on the ship is in danger.
So, do we bring this attention to Say, or do we try and fix her?
I think we should tell her about the danger, and if she balks, we try to fix her. And if we fix her and she still balks, well, then we've got a problem, and I could really use Emmett to help with that, but he's not here, so we're just gonna have to work together, figure it out, and make it work. As a team. As a team.
I mean, Jaeger is pretty strong.
Jaeger is pretty strong. Very, very strong. So, yes. Where is everyone? And he's just gathering his stuff, scooping things up, tossing into bags, very haphazardly, pulling his coat on, and...
Well, I would assume everyone is getting ready to go to breakfast.
That makes a measure of sense.
How much coffee are you going to need?
Yes.
Okay. And Kanani will go and get dressed.
All right. Jaeger, you... your stomach wakes you up, letting you know that it's breakfast time. So you are able to extricate yourself from a pile of very comfy, cozy pillows and blankets and goblins. And you head out and see that, yes, it's morning, and not only is it morning, but the airship is hovering outside of the refuge.
All right. Seeing that, Jaeger's gonna go look for the others. Get some breakfast and get together.
As you head back to the opening of the grove, you see you run across a goblin who you saw was kind of like actually no, he wasn't doing anything alarming. You just come across a goblin who is trotting towards you down the hall and like waving to get your attention. Hey, hello there. Hey, so We couldn't find any of you or your companions to let you know that we arrived at the place we were supposed to get to. And
I don't want to interrupt, but like, Say didn't sleep in the grove.
the goblins did not realize she was in the room she was in.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you for letting us have, honestly, some well-deserved rest, a well-needed rest, and thanks for getting us here safely.
He gives a little salute. He, as well as much of the other goblins, assumed that everyone was behind the hidden door, or the magical door that they could not seem to gain access to. Even with Jaeger not so subtly heading down to sleep among the harem, yeah, no one really thought to bring to mind the fact that everyone had arrived at the refuge early. But Jaeger, as you head to breakfast, say your trance would not have taken too long, so you would have had an opportunity to get up early if you so choose.
Yeah, definitely. Probably went up and realized we were at the refuge.
Oh yeah, you arrive there probably around dawn-ish.
Okay, how far up are we?
Pretty far up for an airship. Because there's no real docks, the ship hasn't gotten too much closer. No sign of Faravax, which is good or bad. You choose. You do see that even from a distance, you can see that it seems like a lot of the orcs down below had gathered along inside and on top of the walls, watching the airship warily.
Okay. Let's see. Are we close? Close. Okay, so like, you said pretty high up. That's not an actual like number though.
Couple 100 feet, couple 100 yards rather. What are you looking to do?
I mean, gravity barely applies to me, and there's rope on board, and I have a stupid athletic score, so go down.
Ah. You. Oh, D&D's weird. You could, in theory, gather up as many coils of rope as you like and secure them together and take your chances descending. You could probably do it. You're athletic and you've got a cloak to help with it, but it would still be a single line descending into a. You are high in the mountains. It's a little windy. It's not a straight descent. Airships of this size are, from what you've seen as well, are not really designed to get too close to the ground.
Do they have those parachute things?
You ask the goblins for a parachute?
Yeah, why not?
They absolutely have parachutes. What do you think this is? Like, they need to make sure that they can get off in case something blows up. And they will furnish you with a parachute.
I feel like Say is standing at the edge with the parachute in her hand, just thinking terrible thoughts.
Intrusive thoughts.
On the
What's
one
the failure
hand,
rate of these things?
on the one hand, you could totally do this. On the other hand, something goes badly, there is no one around to help.
There's Drogon. Drogon's down there. He can sprint pretty fast.
Drogon's not down there.
a shad?
Yeah, Ashad would be there. These are the orcs that were left behind to kind of protect the refuge while the others went to help you guys wage war in the Vale.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's assuming that, you make it to the ground without anything happening.
Does Elaine know Featherfall?
Is Elaine around?
This would be a check of some sort. I would say perception or investigation, depending how you want to look for Elaine.
That's weird. I rolled it, but it doesn't say what I got.
Yeah, that is where's the roll? Rob, do you see a roll on your end?
I do not.
I heard the thing.
I'll try again.
That went through.
That's weird.
That is weird. With a 14 skill check, you did not see him in the cargo bay or the areas or the bunk rooms where you and the other goblins had set up your place for the night. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I thought standing here and having a terrible idea would summon him.
You do recall actually, you do recall that there was a space on the ship that was almost communally focused. You remember right in the center there was a big space where there was tables and chairs and couches and just seemed to be almost like a common area.
I'll go look there. God knows that man doesn't sleep.
Yeah, this early in the morning when you head in there, you find a couple off-duty goblin sailors kind of shooting the shit in different places in the room, and over in a corner, nestled in a plush chair, is Elaine, legs crossed, reading a book.
Elaine, everyone's probably still asleep, and I would like to get down to the refuge, because congratulations, we're here. Do you know Featherfall? I'd like to try out this parachute, but I'm not sure I trust this parachute.
He looks up and promptly closes the book and tucks it away somewhere in his coat. Featherfall? Not exactly my forte, but we might be able to figure something out. I tend to avoid high places, so it's been quite a bit since I needed use of that spell. Let's see here. I thought there is a different spell that he should absolutely have access to.
I mean, to be fair, I do have hookshot and a thorough disrespect for gravity, so I could make do without any spells. Probably.
If there's anyone that could make do, I am sure it would be you. However, gravity has a certain disrespect for our disrespect for it. And if things were to go wrong, well, now I am a knowing accomplice, so thank you very much for that, but I should have something that could help. Let's see, how far up are we? And he gets up and will accompany you out onto the deck. He kind of looks down, peers at the refuge, seems to be judging distance. This could be painful.
Could be painful, could be very impressive.
All right. I suppose there could be a way for us to pull this off. If you can get me a pack like that, I will have to accompany you, but
Happily. Is there a goblin fellow who would be happy to hand over another parachute? Elaine would like to jump off the ship with me.
there's literally a goblin that just shrugs and hands you a parachute. Yeah, your funeral. I'm not sure if I should be impressed or disturbed by the lack of care for their passengers. Though I suppose they have completed their mission and got us where they said they would get us. All right then. Out of curiosity, did Alistair and Kanane find you last night?
They did.
Good. How did everything go?
Actually, very pleasant conversation.
Really? Excellent. No, I'm sure you were able to reassure them of their suspicions? Or their concerns, rather. Suspicions is a strong word.
Yes, and I promised if I was feeling badly to reach out.
Oh, that is very important. I'm glad you have such self-awareness. It can take many hard lessons to learn to reach out in times like that. I'm glad you took their concerns in good faith.
Concerns?
Oh, yes, their concerns, just your well-being and the nature of communications in times like these.
Honestly, it's a bit strange. It feels like once I got stable, that's when everyone started asking me questions. Anyway, ready to jump off a ship?
One is never ready to jump off the ship. One simply does it.
I'll attach my parachute and walk off the edge of the ship. First,
I was going to hold on to you first!
What? And I'll pop my head over like the Aladdin thing, because that never gets old for Say.
Unfortunately, he had launched himself after you.
I'll launch myself after him.
As
Jesus.
he, like many people, forget that you have that ability.
Elaine, I said I had no Anyway, and then the rest is garbled by the wind, I assume.
Yeah, first things first, the two of you need to roll to link up together because he had a plan that involved holding on to one another.
Athletics for parachuting shenanigans, I assume?
I'm trying to figure out if it'd be athletics or acrobatics.
I mean, I'm down for acrobatics.
I think acrobatics would be the way to go here. Good, Elaine. You're rolling pretty well today.
24.
All right. And his 17 means that after a moment, you are able to link up and draw each other tight, kind of holding on in a bear hug. All right. Now is a good time to launch that parachute, I think.
I'll calmly launch my parachute and then launch it.
Yeah. And as the parachute opens and catches you and immediately slows your momentum, he makes a gesture with one hand, and it seems almost like you are both pulled upwards into a shimmer in the air. And suddenly you are flying horizontally over the ground in the center of the refuge as he dimension doors you directly into the middle of town.
Perfect.
Yeah, shit! It is a bit of a tumble as you come to a rest, but the parachute was enough to arrest most of your momentum. So as you kind of all tumble to a stop, you don't look any worse for wear. Just a little dirty, a little bruised, but not too bad overall.
Well, that went better than expected, and I'll give him a hand up.
I've never cast that spell in the air before. I am glad that worked.
Well, it's a good time to test it.
And he takes your hand and stands up, a little wobbly, very wobbly, and dusts himself up, off. You know, in retrospect, I think these parachutes work fine. And then his parachute explodes open and cuts off Elaine from commenting on how reliable the parachute seemed to have been.
I'll unhook him from his parachute.
That seemed intentional. He is just kind of like scowling up into the air at nothing in particular.
Well, welcome back to the refuge.
Ah, yes. Welcome back. And he kind of looks around. It's still like around dawn, a little earlier, and there is absolutely no one around. The doors to the meeting hall are firmly shut, and there doesn't seem to be any lights on.
Right, I have a drow woman to pester. Have fun.
You see, he looks kind of concerned as you head off. What do you do to try and find Vera?
I mean, I know where she was staying.
Oh yeah, you do know where she was staying. Let's see, if I recall correctly, they weren't staying in the common area in the common house, were they? They had
No, they were staying in the common house.
they were staying in the common house. All right. So you head over to the doors, and you open them up. You don't find them locked, but inside you see that the fires are banked and everything is quiet in the main hall. Again, no lights, no people.
In which case, I would like to stealth.
Go ahead. Roll for stealth. That is a considerable stealth score.
I mean, it's fine. Yeah, stealth up to Vera's room.
All right, you stealth up the hall, and everything is. It's kind of a weird, kind of quiet. Doesn't seem to be any sound except the occasional creak of the house around you. As you navigate up the stairs into the kind of the visitor wing, so to speak, and head to the room where Vera and Taro had taken as their own. The door is shut.
I'm assuming it's not locked.
It does not seem locked.
I'll walk in.
Hey, roll me a D100.
Sure. $50.
That is absolutely no help.
Would you like me to roll one of my high variance dice?
Yes, this is a high variance situation. This is regarding
That's
the
a
fact.
natural 20.
Okay, that's a good outcome. That means that Taro would not have warded his room in a hurried attempt to get to safer ground as a enormous enemy airship appeared over the refuge.
Almost funnier the other way, but I understand.
You do find the room empty, but you see the telltale signs of hurried packing.
Well, this is annoying.
That's not the song. That's not the music I want.
Hurried packing. Say's gonna be mildly confused. So I don't think Say puts it together that there's an enemy airship above them. Oh, yeah. No, she's just gonna, like, walk out and. I don't know. I think she's just gonna be the dejected romantic comedy walk, like back outside.
You head back downstairs and you find Elaine in the common room scratching the back of his head and looking around. I don't think anyone's here.
No, and I think that it looks like Vera and Taro packed in a hurry.
Something occurs to me. I recall seeing the orcs on the walls. Did you communicate with them here and say that we were coming to pick them up this morning?
That might have slipped my mind.
Oh, an airship that
I'm going to run full speed and you catch up with me or keep up with me. Either one. Before we have a friendly fire incident.
Okay. Yes, and you're gone. All right. Right behind you.
Heading to the walls.
All right. We'll check back in on this little adventure in a minute. I'm gonna jump back to what's happening a little later in the morning in the Grove, where everyone's gathering for breakfast.
Jaeger's gonna greet Taliesin, who's up preparing for things as preparing things for Kanane. Um I see that actually in character. I see that you're alone. Is Mirai not joining us?
Or I literally waves from the table she was sitting at.
I thought you said she was still in bed. I'm sorry.
She woke up when
Oh,
breakfast
she woke up and came down.
Okay. Then he will wave to Mirai.
The orange juice here is refreshingly fresh. I did not think it's appropriate to ask where it came from.
The green.
I was gonna say magic trickery, but that worked.
I feel like they are one. I feel like they're one and the same, to be honest.
I shrug.
Jaeger's gonna tap his earring If you aren't awake, now's the time to be awake. It seems that the goblins have got us safely to the refuge.
Oh, marvelous. Yeah, I'd say Kanane and Alistair are awake enough to receive the message.
Okay. Yeah, Alistair's quick to respond over the over the earring, while kind of like at the same time hustling to the dining area. That seems quicker than expected. Or maybe not. Is everyone here?
Right now, it's just Mariah, Taliesin, and I.
Okay, we might need to move quickly. Be there in a sec.
Yes, we are awake. We've been awake for some time. Clinker, are you still asleep?
Please tell me Clinko didn't fall asleep in the bath.
Do you have a pouch?
The hot tub is now soup.
Chicken broth?
It's right here for you, buddy.
Chicken broth.
We're only at So Pleasant.
A slightly disheveled bird wanders in from, ironically, the door you least expected. Because there's, yeah.
Out of the pantry.
That would be the door you least expected.
Yeah.
Is that the door she comes out of?
That works.
Okay.
That works. There we are.
I think I long blinked through the description of what room we were having breakfast in, so.
No, it's just, I would assume that a common breakfast area would have been set up.
Yeah, the
Well, like in the grove versus on the ship.
We're in the grove.
The sandwich room. The room for sandwiches. Oh, buddy.
Oh, that gif was definitely Jaeger heading into the kitchen. Hammer eyes at the table, and Klinkle wanders out of the pantry with zero explanation.
Jaeger actually stares at her and opens his mouth to ask, and then she's like, "You know what? Never mind."
You see from the expression on Marai's face that she is just as puzzled as you are.
Klinkle is a person of mystery. It is sometimes it's best not to ask. Just accept Klinkle does what Klinkle does. So after like kind of shrugging and like, you know what, never minding, he will go for some coffee, assuming that Taliesin is preparing it.
I think it's safe to assume.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get around the fact that the other two are not here.
Take 5.
You've got Marai at the table, and Alistair and Kanane seem to be awake.
Yeah, Alistair and Kanani are on the way. Likely would have no answer from Say, as Say just jumped out of range. The fact that he would have no answer from Say would be a little unorthodox.
You do know that in the grove, the earrings would not reach outside of the grove.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy enough. I mean, you spent the night on the ship. Very possible she did as well.
All right, that's not a problem then. If he knows that she is outside of the grove, uh, I assume you're on the way quickly to explain your the slight panic tone in your voice. Speaking of Alistair.
Yes, yes,
Someone's panicked?
perpetually.
What's going on?
Um, if it's involving, say, probably with the same issue that it was yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, and he glances over to Taliesin, realizing that Taliesin just like told her everything. Yeah, so we're probably gonna have to see about uncursing Faye if that's what's going on. I don't quite know the details myself because Mavic. I'm still stuck on page 15 of this remedial book. Suffice to say, but I trust Alistair and Taliesin to know what's going on.
Mariah nods, looking a little more concerned as she glances over to Taliesin.
Until then, how did you sleep?
Oh, fairly well. The hot springs really are pleasant. It really is somewhat astonishing that you're able to, that Talison's able to conjure those here.
I didn't know such a magic existed, but I'm glad for it.
I am as well. It
Likewise.
is incredibly convenient. Go ahead, Taliesin.
Oh, I just said likewise, echoing the sentiment.
Um, as Alistair and Kanani have yet to arrive, and Klinkle seems to like usually not care. Jaeger just kind of walks a little closer and lowers his voice. Pardon me if I'm if this is an odd question, but you two, and he puts like two like individual fingers together.
I feel like I gotta do a insight check on this. Rather, Mirai. Oh, oh,
He's not being lewd. It's just his two index fingers coming together, just indicating a couple.
ah, I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question. She looks over at Taliesin.
I smile and I just say, things are moving as they move. Wherever they go, they go.
Yes, that seems appropriate.
Fair enough. He nods and just just goes back to where he was, getting that coffee. Actually, he'll just like sit down and wait for Alistair and Kanatne to join up.
I mean, it wouldn't be too long. The grove isn't that big.
Yeah.
These two are moving at the speed of plot.
The best speed to move at.
So I'm assuming at some point Alistair kind of Kramer slides into the dining area.
Also out of the cupboard.
Maybe. We'll see in a few more levels. Just a quick cursory glance at the group. Notices Mirai. Does not know that Mirai knows what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good morning. Is Say not here? Say's not here?
He didn't answer the and he taps his earring.
Oh, okay. She's probably elf sleeping then, eh?
Well, no, she's usually up.
She
And
usually
she
takes
did promise to have breakfast with us.
yeah, she usually takes one of the first watches. But if she was like me, she probably slept off out of the grove. I didn't sleep in here either. And at least I know the earring won't reach her if he's somewhere else.
And he just starts to kind of look around and checks to make sure that Say is not in here, like within earshot, hiding, being nearby, looking rather frazzled as he looks around and checks. Okay, well, maybe that's for the best. That's probably for the best. Okay. Right. So, Tally, you still got that diamond?
Come on. Yes.
And he's just going to approach you and get out his jeweler's tools and get prepared to work, assuming that the diamond is not right now dust.
Yeah, no, Taliesin doesn't have the tools.
Like I said, this is probably a small blessing that she's not here then. We don't have very much time. We checked with Say. Something does seem up. She seems to be genial and you know, her regular amicable self. But the vibes were off. I don't think you're wrong. I think there may be very, very much something that we don't know about the Palantir. And regardless of whether or not it is cursed, it is extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. Possibly existentially dangerous to those around it. Say reported that there was a new ability that she discovered among the orb, that it had changed, that it had grown. It didn't occur to me until I read Argol Toll's book. I do believe when it was in his possession, others who had Palantirs at their disposal were using it as a means of surveillance on him and his work area. It appears as though the Palantirs possess the ability to scry on objects, which would make their surveillance all but non-detectable.
Oh.
Based on how the magic works, that is a problem with a capital P.
Yes, that is.
Yes, it is, and he's just going about like starting to file the diamond with his best rasp.
Did we have the Palantir when we were on the first airship that was attacked?
Nope.
No.
Nope. But if someone did have a Palantir and they were familiar with us, or had maybe something of ours in their possession, or had anything belonging to anyone aboard that ship.
I know we had a few more pieces of the streaked metal, so I'm willing to chop it up to that.
No, it was Demetrios.
Yeah, that was the assumption made for the first airship. The Palantir you didn't have until...
Yeah, Palantir wasn't until we took down the Arcane Tower.
For sure.
But, so Taliesin will remark, no, that was Demetrios. We even had word from the gods that he betrayed us in favor of Ruin to preserve himself.
Yeah, you're not.
Right, do we know if he wasn't given a Palantir to hold on to, right? He's just regular wizard, regular magic, regular knowing where we are.
When Say pointed to where the Palantirs were, there were none in Aster City, and that's where he's been holding up.
Okay, cool, thank you. And Alistair's just working on this diamond. It occurs to me that the safest place for this thing to be would potentially be within the grove, but even that is not a guarantee. thus far, it appears to be defying most of what I know about magic.
Doesn't the grove disappear?
Yes, the grove disappears every time I recast it.
It certainly does. And I'm also not sure if it would be safe within the Bag of Holding, which is a demo planner space. But again, I don't know if the magic that it works by follows different rules.
Why don't you make a chest that has the same powers as what you gave Konane? That's in your power, isn't it?
The power of non-detection. I mean, I couldn't have done that without Felix.
Yes, but didn't we, out of character, didn't we, like, say that wouldn't have worked anyway?
Wouldn't what have worked?
I'm gonna say out of character. If you put the ball in a box of non-detection, you can still scry in the ball and see around the ball because you're not scrying on the box.
Unless anything within the box is affected by the spell.
Yeah, no, that's the whole point of a box of non-detection is to put an item in there that no one can scry on, do divination magic on. That's the whole point of it. Similar to someone wearing a necklace of non-detection, that the act of it being attuned to them and them wearing it makes them unscryable directly.
Yeah, but game we brought this up, and Mish said that because I said in character, couldn't Kanani use it because she's non-detectable, and that's said as Konane. No, she couldn't.
So that's Konane holding it. The object is still outside of a container that has non-detection. It's like putting something in lead-lined case for
Sam,
Superman.
you're not the DM. Can you calm down for a bit?
Hey, it's fine. It's a tricky object to focus on. The difference that we're talking about here is on the target. Because Konane is wearing an earring, if she is the target of a scry spell, the scry spell would not work. Because as a target, she's untargetable. If a scry spell were to target something in her vicinity, if the Palantir was able to focus on something in her vicinity as an object, she is not the target, so she would still show up under the auspices of that spell. So being able to scry upon objects seems like a deliberate mechanism to get around people and things being unable to be focused on.
And that's what we discussed in character last game.
In terms of constructing a box of some sort, I'm pretty sure, Rob, you might be familiar, but I know there were spells that couldn't work through like X inches of different materials. I thought Scry was one of those spells, but
all right, so excuse me. Real talk. The way that scrying works is that it creates an invisible object, and you look through that invisible object. It can see things around it. It's not looking through stuff. It's as if you're in the room. Scrying would work through lead if you were in a lead room. It doesn't work if you're on a different plane, if you're not on the same plane as the person who's scrying on you.
Okay, I think there was a different spell that had to do with inches of material. But you are right. It does create, detect magic. It does create the invisible sensor.
Detect good, detect evil.
Yeah, those two.
Thank you. I appreciate the reminder. Those are the spells I was thinking of because I was looking at them recently. That's why they were in my mind. The invisible sensor is another component to the situation that is important to keep in mind. Rob, I think maybe at the moment we're Taliesin brings up the idea of putting it in a box. This is where Alistair would go through the same sort of reasoning of regarding how it wouldn't work and get to the idea of the invisible sensor and realize that that is a potential flaw in the idea of this being used as a surveillance object. It can surveil almost anything, but if you're able to see invisible objects, then even if it's scrying upon an object, odds are that that sensor would still be present.
Right, but that doesn't really help us.
Not in the immediate circumstances, but just something to keep
No,
in
you'll
mind down the line.
you'll know that it's there, but you can't stop it from happening. You can't stop the sensor from existing unless you dispel magic. Dispel magic, maybe.
The spell could work.
As far as like out of character, because we're out of character now. As far as putting it in a box that was a box of non-detection, totally possible. But it would depend on whether or not the non-detection spell is available to the party.
Yeah, that would be the other aspect to the creation of that item. That's not the music that long.
So Alistair would probably go around in circles, panicking about those various hitches.
Well, there's probably NPCs that know the spell.
Potentially.
Yeah, are we, like, I don't know what Felix knows, but are we able to talk briefly to Felix?
For out of character reasons, no.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know how much leave we had to, revisit Felix. So all good.
Yeah, no, very, very a good question to ask.
But it's entirely possible to ask around the refuge. Of course,
Elaine probably has it.
potentially, it would be it would make sense for him to have it. So either way, sliding back into character to keep things moving again. Right, so first order of business would probably be to figure out whether or not Say is indeed cursed or not, and either way attempt the spell on her to make sure that we can easily remove the orb from her. Second order of business, I would think, would be to put the orb somewhere safe, where it is not potentially looking at the Queen's Gambit or looking at the refuge and everything around it. And I think third order of business would be to possibly produce a means to prevent it from being the target of that spell. Supposing we even want to keep it at that point. Which I suppose would be a question that we should ask the whole group when the whole group is present.
Have we gotten any tactical use out of it? I know they've used it to speak to Kanane's, or look after Kanane's relatives, and speak to a few other people.
It's been great for sending messages long distances to those people who should be in the know about things. It allowed her to discover the locations of other Palantirs, and presumably their masters. From what I understand, there are other Eldritch machines out there. This may not be the only one that has a Palantir in it.
You also know that among the uses, it did get the information to the gunslingers to get them moving. Got information to her mother to get things rolling in Kelmar, and it did get the Maythir moving to invade Kaladesh.
It's done a lot of good. and that can't be discounted. However, I think there's a real question as to if our movements are known at all times and we're being surveilled, can we move quickly enough for that not to matter?
I don't suppose there's a way to know if remind me out of character was the fact that Say's Palantir has evolved. That was mentioned, right?
Not to the
Alistair has
general group, as far as I know.
Alistair mentioned that when he got to Taliesin. So that's
Okay.
been mentioned just now.
Okay. Is there a way to know what other Palantirs have this ability? I it might be safe enough to assume that they do, but I don't. But is it? Do we know if the others have evolved?
We cannot know, but we can presume. There was some implication of that matter in Argol Toll's diary.
I would also assume if this is a tool that is primarily being used by the Forsaken, you call them, if these objects are being used by gods, I feel it might be safe to assume that whatever potential it has, it is fully unlocked for them.
Alistair kind of glances at the Quicksilver bracers and nods a little bit.
Yeah.
These things were made by Ruin. It would make sense that Ruin's champions would get the most use out of them.
Well, for all the good they did, I do like the idea of continuing to use it, but not at the cost of an ally's sanity. I like Faye. I don't like her mad and perhaps pointing a gun at me. So, if we can perhaps put that in the bag of holding, that seems to be a space where things can't get out or be seen.
Possibly. Again, I don't know for sure. It remains to be seen. A countermeasure could be produced to determine when it's being looked at, but then we would know that it's being looked at. Couldn't exactly stop it.
As you mull over the potential possibilities for how to deal with this kind of threat, I'm going to jump back over to Say, move a little bit earlier in the morning, as Say rushes down through the town to get to the walls to avoid any potential mishaps between the residents and defenders of the refuge and the Goblin airship. Say, as you move through the refuge, you see that there are a lot of the houses are shut down for the night. The lights are off, the doors are closed. It definitely looks like the people of the refuge have retreated to wherever they had gone when it was first coming under assault. But as you get near the walls, you start to see some of the watchfires from the orcs, and you can hear the sounds of orcs calling out to one another. And give me a perception check.
21.
21. You can hear among the voices as you get closer the sounds of humans and the sharp bark of commands from a distinctly female voice tinted with an undercommon accent.
Yeah, I'll yell out once she's in earshot. Vera, don't attack, it's us!
Say?
One and only.
You run down a alleyway and emerge near the front gates, and you find a group of travelers armed with bows and arrows and dressed in the cloaks of the refuge rangers. Oh my god, that sounds terrible.
Go, go, Refuge Rangers!
Do 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 do. Um, you can see that Vera is standing amongst them and is organizing them, and they're all getting prepared to move up onto the walls. And she turns to look at you with a super confused expression on her face. Say, where on Mobius did you come from? Why?
I just pointed the
you,
fucking ship.
how? She looks between you and the ship and back to you. How did you get down into the city past?
Parachuted. Well, and Elaine dimension doored us. Sort of.
Was the last part after parachute?
And Elaine dimension doored us, sort of.
I have no idea what the parachute is, but I do know what kind of person Elaine is.
To be fair, I was the one talking him to jump off the boat.
That also does not surprise me. You came from that ship. The orcs said that it was an enemy ship, that it was controlled by the Shatlakai.
It was an enemy ship that was controlled by the Shadakai. Now it is the Queen Bean's flagship.
The queen, the one that the goblins speak of.
Yes, she loaned it to us.
She looks back up at the airship, her brows furrowing, and then looks back at you. All right, false alarm. The airship is not an enemy. It is an ally. Spread the word. Someone tell the travelers that they are free to leave their bolt holes. The rangers begin to spread out and start calling out, delivering words down the line. You can see some orcs that were patrolling nearby hear the news and look downright disappointed.
I'm sorry, I did mean to send word. I got distracted yesterday. A weird conversation with Alistair and Kanani.
Then the others, they are with you. They are here in the city.
They are on the ship.
Why are they still on the ship? I would
Because
assume.
they're humans and they sleep forever.
Well, that is true enough. So, what was the urgency with you coming down into the refuge?
Just arch an eyebrow at her.
She arches an eyebrow back at you. You are welcome to roll an insight check.
I think she needs to roll an insight check, but sure. 13.
I think 13 is enough to get the impression that she's asking a question she may already know the answer to, but she is waiting for an answer from you.
I missed you and wanted to see you.
Wow, that was a hell of a musical transition I made just then.
First, like, use your words.
All right. Well, you certainly chose a very dramatic way to make yourself known.
You know, I always get accused of dramatics, and I don't usually intend them.
I'm here! I'm here! Don't shoot the airship! No! No!
Elaine, if you're going to travel with us, maybe morning exercises should be a thing we do together.
Oh, I do not miss those. Farah looks past you as Elaine huffs his way down the street behind you and holding onto the wall. Teleporting is so much faster, but it uses so much resources. Oh. For an adventurer, you are remarkably out of shape.
Also, you know how to teleport.
I do, but I didn't think about using it. You ran, and I ran, and everything was.
This entire time,
And
we just spent a shit ton of money on our own airship, and you knew how to teleport.
not long distances. From. He points up at the sky and then points back up at the center of the refuge. Like that!
Oh, okay, I feel better about that then. If
I'm
I had
going to
known you
sit
could have
down
just
now.
teleported to Astor, I was gonna be pissed.
Catch my breath. And he leans against the wall and slides down. Vera shakes her head. I should send word to my brother. He is with the travelers, making sure that they are safe. It is good to see you in one piece.
You as well.
It strikes me that every time you return back to the refuge, you bring something in tow that the refugees are not expecting.
I mean, I didn't say.
Dragons, goblins, and now an air fortress.
Yes, well, that's just me, I suppose.
She shakes her head a little bit. All right, I think the others have things well in hand here. The orcs will calm down eventually. They were busy trying to figure out how to fight an airship. I thought it an admirable desire, but I had no ideas as to how it might be accomplished. We should probably head back up to the common area. I'm sure the travelers will be emerging and they will want to make some food to celebrate your arrival. They are very fond of throwing feasts around here.
That they are.
And you can share some of your latest adventures with me while we wait for the others to join us, yes?
I think that would be a good idea.
Vera nods and runs a hand through her short hair, which looks like she had recently cut and trimmed it. Right. And she'll start walking, and as she passes you, she will reach out a hand to you.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And she will start to guide you back up to the center of the refuge as word is spread to the other travelers who begin emerging from the cave system that they had hidden the last time their home came under siege. Now jump back to Valor Company. I would assume that you would all be discussing the current scenario as you get your breakfast together. And since it seemed like you were, Alistair, you had communicated how much urgency is needed to address this issue. I assume you would all be eating quickly and running.
Yeah, Jaeger's doesn't mind taking over the filing of the diamond to allow Alistair to get something in him because he looks a little afraid.
He's a little afraid.
But yeah, once that's done, there's no reason to tally. Terry to Terry.
Terry.
To
Terry
tally.
Tally. Tally Town.
So once the filing is done, he's gonna present it all to Alistair and Taliesin. I assume you need some kind of bag to put this in, but it's done.
I reach over and scoop it up, and I look over at Konani. Well, Konani, are you ready?
Well, I mean, I guess I am.
I hold out my left hand that doesn't have the powder in it for the ring.
She will. Is, so, she needs to take off the ring for you to do that, right?
No, he just has to touch it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right,
she can either put it in his hand, or she can put his hand, or put her hand on top of his, so he can do the thing. But he has to have some control over it because of how he has to use the diamond.
Yeah, she'll rest her hand on his.
Then I'll quickly take the diamond dust and rub it across the ring, making a small pattern, and use an action to cast Greater Restoration into the ring.
Okay.
And what level is that spell?
5th level.
So Greater Restoration would take up all slots within the ring of Spellstorm.
Alright, I will be sure to have Kanani discharge all the spells that Alistair put into it before that being put into it.
We just watch Konani go outside and cast Fireball into the air.
Good thing someone went down and told them to attack.
No, it was just Featherfall, 2 things of shield, and
Cure wounds, I think.
Cure Wounds.
That does sound about right. Okay. Thankfully, the spells are not too explosive, and the ring on your finger, it feels warm as a new spell is cast into it, and the diamond dust glows and seems to dissolve upward into the air to disappear. And a new spell is added to the ring. You now have Greater Restoration stored within your ring.
Alright. Now the only thing we must do is play it cool.
Well, that I'm fine to say, but yes, fine to say, play it cool, and possibly catch her. Okay, let's go!
All right. Alistair, you lead the way out of the glade.
Yeah.
You emerge into the bright sunshine of the area around the refuge, and you find the goblins are now more relaxed, that they're just kind of hanging out. You see the refuge ahead and below you.
Oh, you're so close. Goblins, gobos! Are any of you on the clock right now?
It depends on what you're asking. What's up, boss?
I don't want to break union protocol, but I do want to ask a question of some importance, and I do know how important breaks are. Have any of you seen Say?
Say, the redhead with the black jacket.
Yay, tall, wears a hat, red hair.
Oh, yeah. She and the other redhead jumped off the ship earlier.
What?
Yeah, went right over the side.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding. You don't see that kind of thing every day. I mean, they had parachutes. Oh, yeah, they had parachutes.
Alistair just slaps his forehead and like pulls it down, dragging his eyelids down and his cheeks down into this terrible like scowl. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, parachutes were mentioned. You have parachutes? Can we get more of those? Are those a thing?
Oh yeah, we can get some of those. You go get some. I gotta get
Why?
because you open the mouth. As Talison's just like, why?
Why? Why?
We can. Why do you want to use a parachute when we can fly?
Gotta take stock of actually how many spell slots I have left because I haven't slept. Well, can you cover that? I'm a little pats himself down as though looking for his wallet. I'm a little spent.
Yes, I always have the ability. It's I tap my crown. It's one of the things I use from here.
Owls can fly. Okay, cool, great, wonderful. I placed it in your hands, Sally. We've got to go.
All right, Taliesin summoning a bunch of giant birds to fly everyone down.
Yep.
For the purposes of this kind of transportation, it doesn't really matter which giant bird you choose to summon for this. They both
Owls,
serve the
because
right.
they move slower and it's easier to summon more.
Woo! Giant daytime owls.
Giant daytime owls.
You all climb aboard or have owls grab you in their talons, whichever way you feel most comfortable flying. And you head down to the refuge. As you soar down, you see that the streets are. There's a lot more people milling about the streets, particularly in the upper part of the city, than there had been before. It seemed like there's some kind of hubbub. But judging by the way the everything is arranged up at the top of the refuge in the kind of the community area, there's not like a gathering or anyone hanging out up there that seems to indicate anything that there is anything amiss. But it definitely seems like there's a lot more activity in the refuge than is normal.
I wonder if it's worth a perception check.
I mean, hubbub sounds worthwhile.
Yeah, can I do that?
Yeah, you can do a perception check.
A 12.
A 12? It seems like everyone's. It seems like a busy day in town.
Okay.
There's nothing really amiss.
Alright, so Jaeger's going to tap his earring. Actually, do we want to find Thay or actually have her find us through the earring?
Are we within, what was it, 500 feet? Does it look like we'll reach the town from here?
With the way the owls are flying and descending, you can reach 500 feet in no time.
Okay. We could probably have her meet us somewhere, assuming she's within range. Wherever we land, in fact.
Alright. Jaeger's going to go to the earring. Thay, can you hear me? This is Jaeger. You can probably tell that.
Yeah, with Valor Company swooping down over the refuge, I would say that you are in range to hear them say.
Yes, I can hear you. What? Yes?
The rest of us are coming down from the ship. If you would meet us, um, down at the bottom, no, at the common area of the refuge. We'll meet you there.
Sure. What time were you thinking?
We're heading to you now. Oh, we're heading down now.
Uh, oh. Fine.
Thank you.
Callison pointedly says nothing.
I'm going to. Yeah. Okay, that seems about fair. Diego just gives a thumbs up.
Just thumbs up to the air. As you yeah, as you start to approach, Alistair, in your head, you hear Alistair, I see you descending from the ship with the others. I will meet you in the common area before you find Say. You can reply to this message.
Okay, thanks. I don't know. Sure, meet you there.
You all arrive in the center area before Elaine makes his way there.
Alistair will convey the message to the others to meet in the common area before they arrives. Elaine mentioned meeting us at the common area. I don't know if he's just quick on his feet or if he's thinking of things, but
Elaine knows about this? Yeah, because you
Yeah,
talked
Elaine
to
knows about
Elaine.
oh yeah.
Alright, so I told Faye to meet us there, so this will be a bit awkward, so let's hurry up.
Oh, it's gonna be so awkward. I can't wait.
You're on the ground for a good 5 minutes before Elaine comes stumbling through the front gate, huffing and puffing, sweating profusely. Oh, coming up here is so much worse.
Why are you so out of shape?
I do not do a lot of running.
You have barely anything on your body. How are you so out of shape?
Too many
Just
I bet Mikados agrees.
I was in the lower city. It is all beautiful there. Just hills and stairs occasionally. I don't know which one is worse.
Do you not have magic that makes you go faster?
No.
You should. It's a worthy investment. Have you seen Say?
Yes. One moment. Right. Oh. We left off the ship earlier. Upon our arrival here. Yes, she came looking for a way off the ship. I did not want her to go alone. You did not tell her you thought she was cursed, did you?
No.
Why would we do that?
That would alarm her.
Yeah, why would we do that? You don't.
Why would
you
we
don't
do that?
convince someone they're cursed.
You didn't tell her, did you?
You didn't tell her, did you?
No, I just asked her how things went. And was glad that things sounded like they went well.
Did you play it cool?
I do not know what that slang means.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this later. And Say is in the common room.
You told
that what
her
Jaeger?
to stop
Yeah.
doing what she was doing and meet you in the common room right now.
Right now. Yeah, that was over the voice chat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, once they land, gonna make her way to say.
Yeah, I forgot that I had to actually activate the scene instead of just clicking on it.
Oh, cool.
This whole time I've been looking at things and like moving people around, and
Oh, buddy.
I have some very Elaine moments sometimes.
Kanani actually never turned back into her human self. So, her
Her
fox,
fox
self.
self. She's just hanging out. It's just being a weird little guy. Okay. We didn't keep Say waiting, did we?
Yep.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Love to hear it. Alistair's struggling to get away from this whole situation to get into the common room to meet up with Say.
Kanani just walks away.
Yeah, so the Konana, you're the first to walk into the common hall. And you see there's a number of travelers here. You see Shepard Drummond organizing things near the kitchen. It's bursting with activity, very similar to the last time when you guys were here and they had thrown you all a great big breakfast feast. They are definitely setting up a new breakfast feast for everyone.
There's so many breakfast feasts.
Oh, second breakfast. Fantastic.
And there is a table where you see Vera seated, looking a little annoyed, as she's sipping at some. Well, actually, they would probably have goat's milk up here, and
Yeah.
toying at a chunk of bread. Taro is sitting nearby. Say would probably be sitting with Vera, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, as they're walking up, Taliesin just is mouthing, "It wasn't me. I'm sorry." Very big, open mouth. Wasn't me. I'm sorry. Not my fault.
I think that actually makes Say like grin a little bit. No, my hearing's not that bad. I can tell who it was.
And it's at this point that Jaeger goes, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Look at that, Jaeger. You wanted us down here because she missed breakfast, but she was having breakfast with her very pretty girlfriend.
Well, good morning to all of you as well. That was Vera. She had a bit too much of an Elaine accent on her.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Sorry. Switching between Elaine's accent and the twins' accent is very hard to keep straight.
Elaine can be a pretty girlfriend if he wants to.
I mean, he does have glasses of disguise.
Alter self is a thing.
Oh my.
Kind of
Anyway.
peel away from Elaine and kind of Kramer slide into. It's a thing happening today. Kramer slide into the common room and kind of.
Alistair, are you alright? You look like shit. Did you get any sleep last night?
No, thank you for asking. Sorry to interrupt breakfast.
No, he was up all night reading, even though I kept bugging him to come to bed. And he was just like, "Oh, just 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes." And then I just gave up and went to sleep.
The hell's were you reading that was sad and grossing?
Right, so you can point out and make fun of my shortcomings at a less pressing time. Say, I would like a quiet place to converse, if you don't mind. Looking around, very paranoid, looking back to her, very clearly looking like shit, disheveled, and just straight up panicking.
Alright. Sure we can find that. Do you want to put up your rope fort, or...?
Don't have it! Any room will do!
Why don't you have your rope for it?
Because I'm a prepared caster.
Shepherd Drummond, no more coffee for this man. No, he's cut
He
off.
already had like 5 cups.
Yes,
He's very
that's why
jittery.
no more. No more. You're cut off.
So,
If you can take away my wine, I can take away your coffee.
Ooh, she's
that
taking
is
your coffee
that is a
away.
terrible threat. At the table this whole time, Taro has been sitting kind of Gendo Akari style as a Valor Company slid in. And he kind of sits up a little bit and lowers his hands. If you are looking for a place to have a quiet conversation, the archives beneath the common room here is appropriate, perhaps?
Perfect, even. Right, this way. Alistair actually remembers where those are.
Is this a party-only situation, or...?
Party-only situation.
Vera was already standing and paused. Taro was standing as well.
You too. Sages, you're part of the party. Come on.
You are part of the party. Welcome to Valor Company. Enjoy your stay or don't. I don't know anymore.
Mirai looks over at Elaine. I don't know if I'm included in this.
You're included.
Taliesin reaches out to grabs her hand. No,
Oh.
you're included.
Right, all right.
We'll get to the hazing and oaths later, I suppose.
There was never an oath. It keeps getting more complex.
As everyone makes their way down the hall into the library underneath the common room, which is fairly large, low ceilinged, dark at this time of morning because no one's in there, but everyone has light spells and there are areas where torches can be used. Open areas away from all the books they are positioned. There are some large tables with chairs around them. It looks almost kind of like a cozy little library. Not too big, but larger than you would expect in a little town like this. But kind of as promised, it is empty and there is plenty of space for everyone to kind of gather around one of the tables, take seats if need be, or just kind of lean on the bookshelves.
Yeah, once everyone's down there, Alistair's not going to beat around the bush anymore. There's been far too much empty space in the conversation. Yeah, he might be a little caffeinated. He might have a problem, but you know what? There's a bigger problem right now. He's looking around and paranoid, and yeah.
Kanani, earlier, we have to act cool. Alistair, I've had too much coffee and shit's going down!
We're done. We are done with cool.
Sedate Alistair for this conversation, because it looks like he's a little too much.
Say, you remember yesterday when you told me about the Palantir? You discovered a new thing, that it could do something new.
Yes.
It's come to my attention that the other Forsaken have that same ability to do to your Palantir. In fact, I believe that was the main purpose. The former master of the Arcane Tower, Argoltal, made references to it multiple times in his diary, which I have scoured, looking for what have you. We need to see the Palantir. We need to put it somewhere where it can't be scryed on.
Alistair, I need you to take deep breaths. That's one of the primary reasons we do most of our formal communication in the Grove, so that we're on a different plane completely.
Say, Alistair is very worked up and
Seems a bit
caffeinated.
unhinged at the moment.
A
But
bit.
what he says is truth. He read the book last night and...
The book by the crazy man. Yes, that would explain some of the unhinged air.
Well, if it does the same to the others, then they can see us. They can see me. If they can scry an object. We are exposed.
Yes, this is not new information. I'm confused as to why we're having an urgent meeting.
We need to
Because
put the Palantir away somewhere.
Alright, do you have a more appropriate place for it to go?
First thoughts went to the bag of holding.
Alright.
Alistair will take out the bag of holding.
I will put it in the bag of holding.
Can you, though?
Alistair will cinch up the bag of holding.
That's a question.
Say, as you lower your hand into the bag of holding, into this extra dimensional space, and go to release the Palantir, you have an overwhelming sense of, oh, this is a terrible idea. This is...
Right, and Say would have taken her gloves off with Vera. Are we sure we need to put it in the bag of holding? Wouldn't that be some weird dimensional...
Say, your hands are dirty.
And Kanani will reach out to touch her hand.
Kanani, you do see that her hands are... At first glance, they seem a little stained near the fingertips with ink or charcoal. But you can see that there's, since you're focused on it, you can see that it almost looks like there are lines reaching up from the black tips of her fingers, kind of up the length of her fingers and fade away. It looks too irregular to be normal ink stains.
Does Say move her hand away when Kanani's inspecting it?
I don't think she would.
Alright, well, she's holding her with the hand with the ring of spell storing, so she, with the ring of greater restoration, so she's gonna cast it.
I was just straight up going for it, huh?
This is how Kanani do. She just jumps in.
Is that somatic? Or does the ring negate the need for that?
Everything is in the ring. Kanani just has to
Spend an action to
let
cast
go.
it.
It is instantaneous. There is a verbal and somatic component.
That's what I meant. It's verbal.
Yeah, but at the same time, Say, unless you had no reason to think that a
Nope.
spell was just about to be cast, so by the time like you register that motion and movement has been done, the spell has been cast. So with the casting of this spell, Kanani, you feel the ring suddenly goes cold around your finger, kind of as the warmth that had been in it from the spell rushes out. And for a brief moment, Say, you feel a tingling on her hand where she touches you. And then in your mind, it's kind of like an overwhelming sensation, a deafening noise of like glass shattering within your mind. And you reflexively kind of withdraw, you reflexively like wince backward as you release the Palantir from your other hand. And the dread that you felt of putting the sphere away in a dimension you didn't really trust kind of fades away as your more immediate concern is this splitting headache that you now have.
Konami, what the fuck? Oh, gods damn. I'm gonna sit down.
The Palantir itself falls heavily to the floor with a thump and just kind of tilts slightly onto its side and comes to a rest.
Alistair's going to scramble to collect it.
I am sorry, Say, but it seems our concerns were true.
Oh, all right. You've not mentioned any concerns to me other than something. I really can't think straight. You gave me a blistering headache.
Let us get you a drink.
Quick question: are her fingers still stained?
At the moment, they do appear still stained.
Ooh.
Konane. I need you to check in something. Need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
That is a 19.
19. All right, you feel kind of a sudden tension in the room. Very briefly, that slowly fades away.
I think they were scrying on us.
What? Going to, after securing the Palantir, first pull out a fine glass bottle and just roll that over towards Say. Sorry. And after that, pull out the lantern of revealing.
Perhaps, maybe alcohol. This is going to sound insane. Maybe alcohol isn't the solution right now.
Kanani's gonna kneel down next to Say and she doesn't have any healing powers, but she's going to just hold her hand and rub it and just look deeply troubled.
Say, that thing I stole was taking you from us, and it was bringing them to us.
Say, need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Sure. $21.
Okay. For a brief moment, the splitting headache seems to get stronger and then subsides again.
Right, okay. Does anyone want to tell me the whole story now, or are we just going to continue to leave me in the dark?
Right. Let me be more forward. The Palantir is cursed. It was taking you. You did not know. We had some concerns, and it seemed our concerns were correct, because the reaction that you had with the spell of greater restoration is this, and not nothing.
That's a whole lot of diamonds.
It's a non-substantial. You're worth it. As Alistair takes
You
out the
are.
lantern of revealing.
You are very worth it. You are dear to us. You are dear to the team. I care about you, Say.
I care about you all as well. Were we certain I was cursed before we just decided to throw diamonds at the problem?
We had a
Alistair,
strong hunch.
when you pulled out the lantern of the revealing, you turned it on?
I'm lighting it as we speak, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we had quite a spirited discussion about the possibilities.
We are very familiar with how you act, Say, and how you think.
The vibes were off, Say. The vibes were so off.
It was
Alistair.
very concerning.
You turn your lantern on. Did we note what color the lantern glows?
It's like a pale blue.
Yeah, like a pale blue. As you turn on the pale blue light that spills into this chamber, lit by candlelight, you can see just under the ceiling, directly above the palantir, is a fist-size black sphere.
Son of a submariner, this is a private conversation! Alistair is going to reach into his coat pocket, and hold on, I have a thing for this. He pulls out a very large brass bullfrog and throws it at the sphere. It misses the sphere and sticks to the ceiling, at which point the frog's giant bulbous eyes, which looks like a kaleidoscope, begin to vibrate and rotate and shoot off different colors. Some colors that folks weren't aware they could see before. I'm casting Dispel Magic, just flushing the area with wrong, mismatched, magical chaff.
Okay. I need you to make... Let's see here. Checking levels. Yes, you need to make an ability check.
Okay. Intelligence-based check.
Intelligence-based check.
That's a 14 on die, plus 5 becomes 19.
Okay.
This can't be beyond a 9th level spell.
I would also give you an additional +2 bonus because as you did that, both both Elaine and Taro immediately lunged to their feet, throwing out their respective hands to also cast the same exact spell. As all three of you saw the sensor and reacted immediately. Your frog takes precedence, and as it explodes magical chaff into the air, the little black sphere blinks out.
We can't fluff it as the frog eats it.
I thought about that. I really thought about that. I thought hard about that, but I decided to go with Hypnotoad.
I mean, both work. It can be Hypnotoad and then eat the sphere.
You see, Taro is looking surprised and dismayed while Elaine is letting out a sigh of relief. Oh, that is interesting. Vera, meanwhile, is looking between all of you. What the hell just happened? What is this about to curse?
Yeah, at this point I'm taking the bottle.
Alistair has half a mind to share that bottle. Okay, so long and short of it, it would seem...
Apparently I've been inadvertently cursed and leaking important war details to everyone. Congrats.
It wasn't your fault. We did not know.
The keyword is inadvertent.
It's important to note, yes. But we discovered the problem. We fixed the problem, and whew, right.
We are Valor Company, and nobody takes advantage of us. And for that, they will pay extra hard.
The music swells as Kanani makes her declaration.
Words mean things. Yeah. So if it wasn't before the orbs going in the bag of holding, I don't know if we can. I don't know what to do with this.
We need to get rid of it.
Again,
Eh?
it had a great deal of actually good use for us. We need a way to mitigate its ability to spy on us.
Right.
And
Right.
something we can worry about later, right? One deadly crisis at a time. We've dealt with the scrying on us. We've released Faye from the holds of what was happening. We will let Faye rest and see to at least we have stopped the scrying in this area. We don't need Ruin fighting this area and nuking it.
Right. Right. Yeah. They can't do that now. I look to say, and we are here to pick some people up, right? Clearly we've interrupted breakfast. I'm sorry for that.
I am so sorry.
No, rather sooner rather than later.
We can round up whomever, and you can salvage what's left of this. There's a discussion to be had that I think we all should really think about, but that's not for now. We're in the Refuge. It's a nice, cozy place, and it's really dank down here. Shall we go to where there's sunlight?
Yes, let us get fresh air and good food and good drink. And think about the next steps we must take.
Mariah and Elaine are both nodding their heads. Vera is moving over to say, are you sitting or standing at this point?
Probably still sitting.
Okay.
Yeah, Kanani's kneeling next door.
Vera moves up behind you and rests a hand on your shoulder. I think, all things considered, in light of the circumstances, that is Elaine's accent, god damn it. In light of the current circumstances, interrupting breakfast may have been warranted. But yes, let us go and get some food. I think that is a good idea.
I think I'd rather not be amongst a bunch of people right now. You will get something to eat, though.
Alistair looks to say one more time, and he's just got this, from paranoid and panicking to just apologetic puppy. And he nods. All right, whatever you want. See you. Let me see.
Vera kind of squeezes your shoulder a little, say. This is not the greatest of places to be alone with one's thoughts. Perhaps we find a better place to reflect, yes?
All right.
Taro will look over at you, Alistair, as you begin to turn away. Alistair.
I'm looking out for Taro, actually. If we're leaving, there's going to be eye contact.
Do you have a moment?
I was about to ask you the same thing. Just not here. Please.
See, Vera's already leading Say towards the door. Taro looks around for a moment and then nods slightly and looks back at you and gestures for you to lead the way.
Yeah, I pass Kanani a glance and look back to Taro. Sidebar or?
Let us speak and then you can determine how. He pauses and then shakes his head slightly. I am making it out to be much more mysterious than it is. To be direct, you mentioned the diary of the Arcanist from the tower. You still have it in your possession?
Yes. What is it?
I would like to ask you if I may borrow it for a time.
Sure, by all means. I'd like to pick your brain while we're at it, if you don't mind.
I had hoped to do the same. Well, you have all been down in the Vale. I've been poking around the library here. He kind of turns and looks around the room since you're still down there. There are many adjacent chambers where tomes are stored that are of not much use to the people here. And I happened across one that seemed interesting. And he reaches into the pocket of his robe and pulls out a thin, kind of leather-bound notebook. Relatively thin, a little thicker than a diary, thinner than like a historical tome. And on the cover is a embossed symbol of a dot within a what looks to be a circle with spokes coming out of it. It's not a symbol that looks familiar, but upon bringing it out, Taro flips it open, flips through a couple pages, and turns it to show you. And you see it's a map. It's a map of the Vale, except there are locations marked on it indicating the presence of towns and cities. The language with which the map is labeled seems, it looks kind of draconic, looks kind of common. Like it's kind of like one of the it's like looking at Russian. Like the symbols should make sense, but they're weird and don't.
Huh.
I found these down here.
Oh, that's interesting. There was a similar book that had mentioned it was a journal. And in the journal it seemed as though someone was passing through a port town somewhere in the Vale and had made reference to other cities. I don't speak the language, but there's at least one person here in town who speaks Draconic, and I believe the doctor has magic for deciphering words.
It is not Draconic.
Oh,
The language appears to be a very old form of. And he purses his lips to kind of think. You attended the Lyceum. You are familiar with the theory that Common is a language that is derived from combination of older languages. That Draconic, as one of the oldest languages, forms the basis of many others. Yes,
right, yes, yes.
I. This is the oldest form of. I believe it is Common. It still retains elements of older languages, but it is dense. It would take some time to translate it, but well, yes.
Are you asking me to take a crack at it?
I was actually intending to do so myself, but I thought that the journal that you had found might be of some assistance.
Um, possibly?
I confess I have not been able to translate very much, but there are elements here that call to mind what we experienced at the tower. That is why I wish to see what it is the Arcanist had to say about his time there.
Sure. It's a heavy read, but if that's what you want, sure.
Thank
Alistair
you.
will. He goes to reach for the book and kind of hesitates, looks around again, and does like a stink face, looking at the ceiling where the scrying orb was before, and he'll hand it over.
Taro tucks both books away for now.
Gonna say, I had a long blink again. Can I look over Alistair's shoulder and take a peek at that language? Or that,
Oh yeah, this is a. They didn't really step aside, so anyone who lingered would be able to take a look. And Taro wouldn't hide it. Like if you looked like you were trying to get a glimpse, he would turn the book towards you.
I'm kind of gonna do the bird, like, look thing, where neck is longer than should be.
That is so unsettling. You're like 7 feet tall when you're not hunched. Do you know that?
Clinkle nods.
Okay, so long as you know. I didn't.
You get used to it.
No, you don't. Don't lie to me like that.
I would never lie to you.
I had never walked away with Mirai. I would have been standing back because Taliesin was supposed to introduce Mirai to Taro because she had questions. So Taliesin looks at Mirai and then looks at the book and then says, "Say a language you know."
And my original thing was, with my primordial, do I get anything out of it?
Primordial. Ooh. Primordial. No, it is not primordial.
Okay. I just figured since he's talking old languages, even though primordial is kind of like elsewhere old.
It's a different flavor of old.
When you ask Mirai that question, Taliesin, she steps forward to look at it, and Taro blinks a little bit, kind of registering her presence among everyone, and tilts the book towards her and looks over at you, Taliesin, kind of like a questioning glance. Mirai, meanwhile, looks at the words and kind of squints a little bit. Oh. Um, my It's been a long time since I've read something like this. I, with a little bit of time, I could probably translate it. Yes, I do recognize the language. It's common. Just it's a dialect that has not been used for a very long time. And she pauses as she reflects on what she said. A very, very long time, I think, at this point in time.
I nod, and then I look at Taro. Oh, Taro, this is Marai. Marai, this is Taro, the Sage of Change.
The Sage of Change?
There are sages for each major dragon in the pantheon. There's a sage for preservation who we all kind of hate right now, and but he is the foremost knowledgeable person on change or hectopole as she's or ruin as she's more commonly known now. And you had mentioned wanting to so I figured I'd introduce you to Taro since you've already met Elaine.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I find myself in very interesting circumstances and would look forward to discussing some things with you whenever you have some time. At this point, Taro is putting away the books. I believe I may have some questions myself. It is a pleasure to meet you, Lady Mirai. I would greatly appreciate your help in translating these texts for us. And she nods her agreement. All right, so at that point, Valor Company retreats from the archive room to go and collect breakfast and figure out what exactly they want to do with the Palantir as Vera escorts Say to a quieter place to think about recent events. And this is where we're going to end it tonight.
Cool. More mysteries. More mysteries.
Oh, don't change the music. That music was perfect.
I just turned it down.
Perfect for that fucked up symbol. The fucked up looking symbol. Looks like a sun. It's not a sun. Looks like it could be a sun. It's not. Don't know what it is, but it's too pointy to be good.
Yeah, and for the language, I was thinking of like Old English. Old English is a bitch to read.
I wouldn't want it. Those don't look like words to me. Those are squigglies. Those are squigglies. This is a bones problem. This is not a problem.
Yeah, go get Bones. She'll translate.
Go get Bones. Go get Bones. Where's Roar with that headset situation? That Razer gaming headset he's working on.
I mean, he has to, find a component that will let him do that first. So.
God, your DM sucks.
And they're behind anyway, so.
They sure are. We would cause a time paradox if we did that. We sure would. Apologies to the class for being off my game tonight.
You were quite on.
Oh no, it was great.
Oh, okay,
Off
cool.
in the best way. You were definitely doing the full Alistair is freaking out.
Yeah, we definitely caught when the monster kicked in.
Okay, cool. That's great. Monster's done now. The only monster left is existential dread. The player finally realized just how bad that was. It took the player this long to realize.
The Palantir?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Say is definitely taking this well, and definitely doesn't blame herself.
That's cool. Alistair feels like an idiot for not putting two and two together and realizing the same thing. And like, no, I should have slapped Say. I should have slapped her then and stole it. This was bad.
Totally bring out that lantern at random intervals.
We're tying the lantern to Alistair's stupid head. And Emmett will be charged with keeping it full of lantern oil.
Oh, I just had a cool idea.
No, you didn't. Don't.
No, I had a cool idea for Alistair.
Oh, cool. I thought you realized what scrying could do. We're not talking about that. We're not giving you any fucking hints.